Quick question. Have you ever watched an anime that felt kind of uninspired? I know you watched at least one anime and been like, damn, this low-key mid. And if I can give a safe bet, I would say 8 times out of 10 it was probably Isekai. Not saying that it was a bad show necessarily, or Isekai is a bad genre, but that's honestly where I see a lot of the generic stuff come from. And don't get me wrong, I love Isekai anime, but there's definitely a lot of diet sword art online out there. And you don't want to be seen as like the diet Dr. Bob or the cream betweens of the Isekai genre. That's just not a good look. It's definitely one of my favorite genres, especially if it's done right. There's an absurd amount of them shits out there too. I can merch like 10 of them shits be dropping every season, and I be having at least 3 of them in my rotation. But after watching like 20 or so, probably way more than that, I started to wonder what makes a good Isekai anime. There's obviously levels to this shit, if you feel me. Anime like Shield Hero, Season 1, and ReZero are highly favored amongst the bunch. But why? What do these select few Isekai have that others don't? What makes them so unique? To keep it simple, it's a few things. So here's How to Isekai, a quick study on what makes a good Isekai anime. Before we get into it, as always, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more anime related videos just like this one. Also hit the notification bell to know when I post in the future. So we're gonna start off with the routing. As far as I'm concerned, there's probably like 3 different approaches you could take to make an Isekai anime stand out. I'm going to give you a few examples of shows for each approach. The first approach is the characters and the world building approach, where you create a bunch of really cool and enjoyable characters from different nations, kingdoms, etc., and you heavily utilize them and have the main character roam around a lot so you see them a good amount. For this route, a few good examples would be like that time I got reincarnated as the slime, Jabba's reincarnation, Shield Hero, and Overlord. I think these 4 shows do a phenomenal job at creating a big world with a good amount of great side characters and enabling the main character to roam around and breathe type shit. In Jabba's reincarnation, they did this so well that they were able to completely shift the story in a different direction, completely moving away from the main cast and the main plot that we're used to. Like, this nigga Rudy is went from fighting dragons to fighting ED, and we watched it. And they were able to slow down the story and add a bunch of new faces while sprinkling in familiar faces, effectively keeping the show's identity. It's actually really impressive, because it feels like a completely different show, but it was still amazing. In Slime, Rimuru basically is Jesus in this show. He's in the disputes between different species, creating a nation where people can live equally. And in the process, he's built up this disgusting team of niggas. Like, having Diablo, Veldora, and Benimaru as followers is really crazy now that I'm thinking about it. But even with Rimuru and his team being OP, there are still possible threats out there. Back then, when me and my homies were just action junkies, we were at the part where they're preparing for the meeting between the demon lords, and we were excited as shit. We didn't even care if they fought or not. And we action junkies, and we didn't care if they fought or not. We just wanted to meet them niggas. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when the main character is overpowered. To build hype like that, that's not an easy task. Slime is still introducing interesting characters, and they're showing us characters that we really want to see. And Rimuru doesn't even have to be involved at all. You're doing something right when your show has really good moments that are detached from the main character. You're doing something very right. Alright, the second approach that I've seen work extremely well is the comedy approach. Those super unserious isekai are surprisingly some of my favorites. Shows like Konosuba, Eminence and Shadow, Cautious Hero, and No Game No Life are perfect examples of this. These shows are so funny to me that they don't have a choice but to stand out. These shows aren't just 100% comedy. Well, maybe Konosuba is, but comedy is definitely a huge part of their core, and it works extremely well in their favor. Eminence and Shadow is a super action-heavy show, but I genuinely don't think that it would hit the same if they didn't write CS character the way they did. Him trying hard not to stand out and acting like some weak-ass nigga is funny as hell every single time. And it makes it even funnier when you see how far he's willing to go to do so. Konosuba is probably the stupidest show I ever watched, and I love it. I'ma keep it a bean. I'ma keep it a beanski. I don't think there's been a serious moment in the entire show now that I think about it. And that's the thing. His characters are so funny that they don't even do like the typical anime, isekai anime tropes. If they do it, they completely make fun of them. Like, I think that's a really unique perspective on how they do that. Now, this was probably cheating, so my last and my favorite approach is the damn, this is a isekai? That approach. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. There are a few shows out there that don't even acknowledge the fact that the main character is from another world, or the story is so unique that you don't even remember they are. And I have 2 shows in mind in particular. That's ReZero and Tanya the Evil. When I was watching ReZero for the first time, I completely forgot that this is an isekai until we seen Subaru's parents. I was so immersed in the story at that point, that I forgot that bro just got snatched out of a 7-Eleven and ended up here. Not only did they reiterate the fact that he was from another world, but they also made it into a super emotional and beautiful moment along with it. They integrated it perfectly in my opinion, and I really love how creative that was. It's really easy to forget that Tanya the Evil is an isekai. The main reminder that the show gives us is Tanya's beef with God. But even then, I was just over here thinking like, damn, this is just war. And outside the isekai element in the beginning, that's basically what it is for real. Now that we laid out the routes, it's time to put it all together and answer the big question. So, what makes the isekai good? I would say nowadays having at least one thing in your show that you can't get from anywhere else or no one does better than you is the way to go. Not saying that you should put all your eggs in one basket. Try to do something exceptionally well instead of trying to do everything okay, if you know what I'm saying, if you want to stand out. Whether that's having a really good main cast, a side cast, having some amazing ass fight scenes, or just having a one-of-a-kind story. Throughout all the isekai that I've watched, the truly elite ones have something that you can remember them for that no other show has done better. That's why a lot of newer isekai feel generic. A lot of them play it a little too safe, and as a result, you see a lot of the same shit, making them pretty forgettable. I'm gonna keep it a bean skittle though. I still watch the generic ones because they're still fun watches when you turn your brain off, in my opinion, but you gotta take risks to truly be elite. Otherwise, you're just gonna be a diet SAO. The isekai genre is already heavily saturated, so it's pretty hard to be unique and stand out, but it's not impossible. It's very doable. I think that about sums it up. But that's all for me, man. As always, man, have a great day. Love y'all, man. Peace.
Sometimes we seem to disagree. Pray that you protect her and increase my sympathy. I'm a mini you, one day I'll have a mini me. I'm your son, I shouldn't treat you like an enemy. I get annoyed when you point out all my